delay, dear friends. I thought that I would make a dramatic entrance. Good morning. Thank you. If we haven't formally met, I'm Roxann Jackson. I have the great privilege of singing here in the choir at St. Philip's, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself, starting with a really big one. This is not my natural hair color. It's shocking, I know. I was born and raised in Jackson. My dad taught at Mississippi College School of Law, and my mom worked at Whitfield. I went to St. Andrews starting in first grade, Millsaps for my bachelor's, Southern Miss for some post-bac work, and then I went on to the University of Montana in Missoula for my master's. We'll get to that. And the third thing is that even though I'm a performer through and through, I am nervous as anything to be standing up here talking to you this morning. But I come by my theatricality honestly. When I was growing up, my parents would throw parties at the house, and I would stand behind the living room curtains until enough people had gathered. We reached a critical mass. And then I would whisper to my father, "Now, Dad!" And he would quiet the room and announce, "Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the ever-dangerous Roxann Jackson!" And everybody would clap, and it would be incredible, but if they didn't show sufficient enthusiasm, I'd go behind the curtain and we'd have to do it again. I started ballet when I was around 3 years old and piano lessons in first grade, and I had serious Broadway dreams, which meant I needed to become what we call a triple threat. Do y'all know what that is? Well, it's someone who can sing, dance, and act, and I could dance, and I can definitely act, but the singing needed a bit more fine-tuning. Enter Jean Vaughn, who told my family about David Osteen and James Martin, who were teaching voice lessons here at St. Philip's. And just like that, this place became part of my musical formation. I started studying voice here when I was about 16. My first solo performance happened right here under James and David's direction. I sang Honey Bun at a Mardi Gras mass with the choir, standing right here. And I later sang with the choir again before I went off to Southern Miss. Music became the way that I made sense of the world. It was where discipline met beauty, where emotion met structure, and quietly where God was meeting me. At the same time, I was trying to understand my faith more broadly. And I once asked my mother, Mom, hey Mom, but I asked her what her family had taught her about faith growing up. And she said that she was taught to see the divine in everyone, that holiness exists in all things, and that it is our job to treat one another with love, kindness, and respect. She's a smart woman, my mother. While I didn't feel deeply connected to the church that I was raised in, I did feel that sense of holiness here in you, St. Philip's. Fast forward a few years when I moved to Montana for graduate school. Montana is stunning. And yes, my hair looked incredible because there was no humidity up there. But the rhythm of the church wasn't woven into daily life. And the caliber of music that had anchored me just simply wasn't there. When I wasn't attending church, I talked about how St. Philip's is where all are truly welcome. I'm a bit of a yapper in that way. But I also talked about the music. I talked about what it meant to sing in this choir, that it wasn't just performing, but holy participation. That every Sunday, the caliber of music and musicianship lifted the entire congregation. I carried St. Philip's with me wherever I went. When I returned to Jackson and David asked me to join the choir, it felt like coming home. And that's where stewardship comes in. Because none of this exists by accident. It exists because people chose to give. They gave their time, their talents, and their treasure. And stewardship isn't only financial, though that is important. It's also about presence. It's about showing up. When you attend evensong or contemplative spirituality from 2 to 4 today in the parish hall, or lessons and carols maybe tonight at 6 p.m. Anything that happens outside of Sunday morning, you are supporting everyone in a very real way. As someone who sings up here every week, I can tell you, what you support is not abstract. It is lived, it is heard, it is felt, and sometimes it reaches people before they realize that they need it. Now I'd like to address the incredible musicians in the choir. I'd like to address everyone in St. Philip's, and especially I'd like to address you, David. Through your stewardship, you gave me back my voice. I am here not only because this church has formed me, but because I love it. Stewardship is how we make sure that love continues, not just for ourselves, but for the people who don't yet know how much they're going to need this place someday. Thank you.